So I'm going to be going over the close air support aircraft capabilities and limitations. So for the general content, we're going to have 6 sections. The first being the introduction, second, the United States Marine Corps aircraft, the third, United States Air Force aircraft, the fourth, United States Navy aircraft, the fifth, United States Army aircraft, and the sixth, the conclusion. So for the introduction, mainly I'm going to go over what makes an aircraft close air support capable. An aircraft is considered close air support capable when it has the right combination of features, systems, and training to effectively support ground troops by attacking enemy targets in close proximity to friendly forces. So the features and systems, targeting pods, also known as sensors, close air support purpose-driven ordnance, and etc. For training, the aircrew needs to have the same proficiency as the ground crew. If the aircrew isn't proficient in close air support and doesn't train for it, they will ultimately fail at providing close air support in some way. And each branch has close air support capable aircraft, which are all at our disposal. So first, I'm going to be going over the United States Marine Corps aircraft. We're going to start with the FA-18 Charlie and Delta variants, the AV-8 Bravo, the F-35 Bravo, the AH-1 Zulu, the UH-1 Yankee, the MQ-9 Alpha. And the Marine Corps has more aircraft platforms than just these, but these are the assets primarily used for close air support. In general, I might go over a lot of aircraft, and there are more semi-close air support capable aircraft than just the ones I'll go over. However, these are the ones that are typically used for that purpose. So we have the FA-18 Charlie and Delta Hornet. So the F stands for fighter, the A means attack. So that's going to, considering it's both, that means it's a multi-role aircraft designed for both fighter purpose, which is air to air, and attack, which is air to ground. So for the role, it's a carrier-based all-weather fighter and attack aircraft. It can perform air-to-air interdiction, which what that is just intercepting other aircraft in the air, armed escort, close air support, deep air support, and suppression of enemy air defense. So for the ordnance, the FA-18 can carry all of the close air support purpose-driven ordnance designed for fixed-wing aircraft. For the sensor, the FA-18 has the AT FLIR, the Advanced Targeting Forward-Looking Infrared, and the AT FLIR is typically used if the aircraft is being launched from a carrier. However, if it is not being launched from a carrier, the Lightning sensor is likely the one being employed. Just from my personal experience talking to pilots, typically the Lightning sensor is preferred. So, yeah, she's probably the better of the two. For capabilities, it's an all-weather carrier-based fighter, so it can be deployed nearly anywhere. And it's a multi-role fighter and attack jet, which means it can accomplish a lot of things in one smaller package. For the limitations, generally has a short combat radius, and it's mission dependent, but they may need to give up ordnance space for an external fuel tank to extend that combat radius. And for the remarks, the Charlie variant is a single seat, while the Delta variant is a two-seater. And this aircraft is slated to be eventually replaced by the F-35 Bravo. Probably won't happen anytime soon, however, that is the plan. So the AV-8 Bravo Harrier II. The role of this aircraft is primarily an air-to-ground attack purpose-driven aircraft, also capable of armed reconnaissance. It is both close air support and deep air support capable. The A obviously stands for attack, and the V is for VTOL, or VSTOL in this instance, and I'll go over that in a little bit. For the ordnance, it can carry all of the close air support purpose-driven ordnance designed for fixed-wing aircraft. The sensor, it typically carries the Lightning targeting pod. For capabilities, It is VSTOL capable, which what that means is vertical and short takeoff slash landing. So that means it can either take off vertically. Also, it could do a short takeoff as well, which is going to be more fuel considerate. And obviously, it can just land vertically as well. For also, the aircrew is incredibly proficient in close air support due to being a ground attack centered aircraft. For the limitations, it's relatively slow compared to other fixed wing. It cannot exceed Mach 1, and it has limited air to air defense and attack capabilities. So typically, if you're going to be employing this aircraft, you're going to want air superiority or at least a generally uncontested environment. For remarks, this will also eventually be replaced by the F-35 Bravo. The USMC has already gotten rid of a lot of these. I believe I forgot which one. It's either the West or East Coast. Only one of those coasts still have a squadron of these. They're generally almost all gone already. The F-35 Lightning II. The role of this aircraft is a carrier-based air superiority slash air-to-air interdiction fighter, and it can also perform armed escort, close air support, deep air support, intelligence slash surveillance, and reconnaissance. The ordnance internally it's limited to smaller munitions. This is because it is a stealth fighter, so to keep that small RCS radar cross section, it has to keep the ordnance internally, because if it had the external ordnance, it would defeat the purpose of all of its stealth capabilities, and it would drastically increase its radar cross section. But however, it can hold ordnance externally if stealth is not a factor in its mission for that time and place. So all of the close air support purpose-driven ordnance designed for fixed-wing aircraft can fit externally. The gun is not permanently mounted to the aircraft. It must be mounted to it prior to taking flight, so it doesn't have a built-in gun. The Bravo variant does not. For the sensor, it has the EOTS, Electro-Optical Targeting System. And for the capabilities, it's STOVL, short takeoff and vertical landing capable, which the difference between, we go back to the Aviate V STOVL and STOVL is that this aircraft is not capable of vertically taking off. It can only do short takeoff. However, it is capable of vertical landing. It's also a stealth aircraft, as previously mentioned, and it has the ability to SAR map, which synthetic aperture radar, which without getting too into the weeds just means that it can map the ground even like above a cloud deck and stuff like that and still be able to see what's below it. Definitely more than that. That's just kind of a brief overview. And it has a lot more advanced systems, which would, if I were to talk about it, it would change the classification of this. So not going to talk about it. For the limitations, it's still a very new aircraft. Well, very new is kind of a stretch. It's been in production for a long time. However, it was fielded recently. So there are still troubles with its airframe and avionics still. The aircrew are also not incredibly proficient in close air support since it is not their primary focus. I've seen this myself. It's true, they are not super proficient in it. However, maybe over time they'll get better. And just remarks, it's the newest aircraft the United States Marine Corps has at the date of this video. So getting into rotors, we have the AH-1Z Viper. However, nobody calls it that. Everybody refers to it as the Cobra. As to why, I don't know. It's just the way it is. So for the role, close air support, deep air support, armed escort, and armed reconnaissance. Very much close air support heavy, though. And deep air support as well. So for the ordnance, it can carry all of the close air support purpose-driven ordnance designed for rotor wing assets. Its sensor is the TSS, Target Sight System. It's not an amazing sensor. Its usual counterpart, the UH-1 Yankee, which I'll go over, I believe, in the next slide, has a much better sensor, but it gets the job done. Its capabilities, it has pretty good air-to-air defense and attack capabilities. It can keep a lot of those good air-to-air missiles on them. And it has a large suite of precision-guided munitions. For limitations, when carrying a full load of ordnance, it has a pretty short combat radius. And as I mentioned earlier, oftentimes it's in a section paired with the UH-1 Yankee. So the UH-1 Yankee Venom, most commonly referred to as the Huey. It's a close air sport capable deep air sport when paired with the AH-1 Zulu, capable assault support, CASEVAC, armed escort, and armed reconnaissance. For ordnance, it's typically limited to the small arms system mounted in its door gun, so usually like a specific M240 variant for the door gun. You can put a 50 cal on there, things like that. It doesn't have a mounted gun on the front like most of the other closer sport capable aircraft. It can also carry unguided rockets and APKWS, Advanced Precision Kill Weapon System. Also, its actual nomenclature is the AGR-19 Alpha and Bravo air-to-ground rocket. And for the sensor, it has the Bright Star Block 2, which I previously mentioned is superior to the TSS that the AH-1 Zulu carries. Capability is incredibly versatile. It can do everything from close air support to CASEVAC, just because, like you can see here, it has this area where people can enter, and you can put patients in there to be transported to a higher echelon of care. For limitations, it has incredibly limited air-to-air defense and attack capabilities. Pretty much it doesn't really have any, other than like um, they can do some gangster stuff with the APKWS or possibly its door gun if it's close enough, like another helicopter. Against fixed wing, it's basically just a sitting duck. Also has a pretty limited ordnance variety. And for remarks, oftentimes in a section paired with AH-1 Zulu, as I mentioned earlier. So now we have the MQ-9 Alpha Reaper. Oh, before I get into that, I forgot. So here, the A, it's attack, H is helicopter. Here, U is utility, H is helicopter. Then we have the MQ-9 Alpha Reaper. M just stands for multi-purpose, and then the Q is for drone. Its role is ISR, intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance, close air support, and deep air support. Mostly ISR. However, it can carry some ordnance for CAS and DAS. So for ordnance, it can carry air-to-ground missiles and some precision-guided bombs. For its sensor, it has arguably one of the best sensors in the entire United States military. It has the multispectral targeting system, MTS. It's as I mentioned, incredibly good sensor. For its capabilities, great sensor, and it can also do SAR mapping, such as the F-35. It can have extremely long time on stations. I'm talking like, whereas with normal fixed wing, we're speaking usually an hour or less. With the MQ-9, you can get multiple hours, like 6 or more. Also incredibly inexpensive in comparison to other aircraft. So if this would get shot down, it's not the end of the world. In comparison, if something like an F-35 goes down, that's going to be a much more expensive debacle. For its limitations, limited ordnance, it's pretty much just locked with a few AGMs like the Hellfire and some PGM missile bombs, but that's kind of rare, even in itself. Also, very little maneuverability. For remarks, it usually flies by itself, no wingman required. So usually if these are checking on station, you're just going to get one of them. Moving on to the United States Air Force aircraft, we have the F-15 Echo and the Echo X-Ray. We have the F-16 Charlie, Delta, and Victor. We have the F-35 Alpha, the A-10 Charlie, the AC-130 Juliet and Whiskey, and a few others. And just like the United States Marine Corps, the aircraft has more aircraft platforms, actually a lot more. But these are the assets primarily used for CAS. So the F-15 Echo Strike Eagle and the F-15 Echo X-Ray Eagle 2. The role is air-to-air interdiction, air superiority, armed escort, close air support, and deep air support. For ordnance, it can carry all fixed-wing-based close air support-driven ordnance. For its sensor, it can have the Sniper XR or the Lightning Pod. For capabilities, it's incredibly proficient for close air support, and it can also carry a lot of ordnance. It's also incredibly fast and maneuverable. For limitations, has a short time on station if lots of ordnance is being carried. That's obviously going to weigh it down and make the fuel efficiency be worse. And for remarks, the United States Air Force is primarily still using the F-15 Echo Strike Eagle, just because there's a lot more of them, and it's an older variant. However, more F-15 Echo X-rays, Eagle 2s, are in production, and will eventually replace the Strike Eagle. For the F-16 Charlie, Delta, and Victor Fighting Falcons, we have the role as air-to-air interdiction, air superiority, close air support, deep air support, and armed escort. For ordnance, it can carry all fixed-wing, close air support-driven ordnance. For the sensor, it can also use the Sniper XR or the Lightning Pod. For capabilities, it is fast and maneuverable. For limitations, though, it's typically not incredibly proficient in close air support. While it is a multi-role fighter capable of it, close air support is far from its primary function as an aircraft. And the F-16 Victor isn't a designated variant of the F-16 by the United States Air Force. It is just the nickname for the F-16 Block 70/72, which is an upgraded version of the F-16. The F-35 Alpha Lightning II. So this is generally pretty similar to the Bravo, and coming up will be the Charlie variant as well. They're all pretty similar. There's a few key differences, though. So the roles are the same as the F-35 Bravo. The ordnance is going to be the exact same, except for the F-35 Alpha is the only F-35 variant with an internal gun permanently mounted to it. So it has this gun, and it can be kept internally to it, so it doesn't compromise its stealth factor. It has the same sensor as the F-35 Bravo with the EOTs, and it has the same capabilities as the F-35 Bravo, other than the fact that this variant is not STOVL capable. So no short takeoff landing. Sorry, short takeoff or vertical landing. Its limitations is that it's still a new aircraft, so just like the other F-35 Bravo, it's still pretty new. Problems with airframe and avionics, and also the crew is not incredibly proficient in CAS. And for their marks, this aircraft is the only F-35 variant that is not carrier-based, whereas the F-35 Bravo and F-35 Charlie are. So the A-10 Charlie Thunderbolt II, nicknamed the Warthog. Its role is close air support and deep air support. And for ordnance, it can carry all fixed-wing, close air support-driven ordnance. Its sensor, it can carry the Sniper XR or the Lightning Pod. For its capabilities, it's incredibly proficient in close air support because that's its main purpose of the aircraft. Also great for anti-armor. This is due to its 30mm depleted uranium. It's a 30mm gun that shoots depleted uranium rounds, so that's very good at penetrating armor. But it does have some limitations, which is the fact that it is a super slow aircraft. It's also not incredibly maneuverable, and it has very limited air-to-air attack/defense capabilities. This aircraft can only be employed when air superiority within the battle space is achieved. And for remarks, this aircraft is sadly set to be retired between fiscal year 27 and fiscal year 28. The one everybody knows from Call of Duty. The AC-130 Juliet and Whiskey Ghost Rider / Stinger 2. So the A is attack, as we already know, and the new one, C, this just stands for cargo. It can carry cargo. So its main role, close air support. For ordnance, it has a multitude of guns. You can see here, it has multiple. And it can also carry air-to-ground missiles. For its sensor, it has the electro-optical / infrared sensor, EOIR. It actually has two of these. So they can look at two different things at the same time within the same aircraft due to having two sensors. For capabilities, it's incredibly proficient for close air support since that is its primary function. For limitations, it has little maneuverability and air-to-air attack / defense capabilities. It's it can only operate if air superiority in the battle space has been achieved. And generally, it's only used for special operations missions. It's possible for a conventional guy to get these on station. However, they're typically in support of soft stuff. And some others that the Air Force has. So we're going to look at the OA-1K Skyraider 2. This is a light attack aircraft being produced by L3 Harris for the United States Air Force. It will be primarily used for Special Operation Forces missions like the AC-130. You can see this one's kind of interesting because it's a propeller plane in the year 2025. But it allegedly serves its purpose pretty well. So excited to see that. The Air Force also has the MQ-9 Alpha Reaper. It's the same as the United States Marine Corps, just owned by a different branch. And the Air Force also has the UH-1 November, the twin Huey. It's an older variant of the UH-1 in comparison to the UH-1 Yankee, and it's also slightly less capable than the UH-1 Yankee. Moving on to United States Navy aircraft, we have the F-18, FA-18 Echo and Fox variants, and then we also have the F-35 Charlie. And again, the United States Navy has a lot more aircraft platforms than just this, but these are the assets primarily used for close air support. So we have the FA-18 Echo and Fox Super Hornets. So for the role, it's going to be the same as the United States Marine Corps Hornets. For ordnance, it's going to also carry all fixed wing close air support driven ordnance. For sensor, can also carry the AT FLIR or Lightning pod. And for capabilities, it's going to be the same exact capabilities as the FA-18s that the Marine Corps has. Pretty much the only thing that's going to change is that it's just generally upgraded from the FA-18 Charlie and Delta variants that the United States Marine Corps has. This is mostly not going to affect close air support missions that much, more on the pilot side. So now we have the final F-35 variant, which is going to be the F-35 Charlie Lightning II. It's going to have the same roles as the other two variants, and it's going to have the same ordnance as the other two variants, except like the F-35 Bravo, it does not have an internal permanently mounted gun. The F-35 Alpha is the only one with that. Has the same sensor as the rest. And for capabilities, it's the same as the other F-35s. And also note that even though this is carrier-based, it is not STOVL capable. And for limitations, it's the same as the other F-35s. And for remarks, the aircraft is slated to replace the FA-18 Echo and FA-18 Fox Super Hornets. However, this will likely not happen for quite some time. Moving on to the United States Army aircraft, we have the AH-64 and the MH-6. The United States Army has more aircraft platforms than just this, but these are the assets primarily used for close air support. So we have the AH-64 Delta and Echo variants, the AH-64 Delta being the Apache and the Echo being the Apache Guardian. So its role is close air support, deep air support, armed reconnaissance, and armed escort. It can carry all rotary wing close air support driven ordnance and then some. For its sensor, it has the TADS PNVS, the Target Acquisition and Designation Site, Pilot Night Vision Sensor. For its capabilities, it has the Longbow radar, which this is the only aircraft with that, and it is incredibly powerful for target acquisition. And the aircraft is great for anti-armor because similar to the A-10, it has a 30mm gun. The Apache and Apache Guardian do not shoot depleted uranium rounds. However, it's still really capable at taking down armor. For limitations, it's not a very fast or maneuverable aircraft, and it doesn't have a huge combat radius. And for remarks, the aforementioned Longbow radar allows the AH-64 to utilize the AGM-114 Lima. It's the only aircraft that can use that Hellfire missile. And this missile allows for advanced targeting using the longbow radar rather than having laser energy like the AGM-114 series, the rest of the series. And it can terrain mask after firing the missile. So essentially, the aircraft could come out of cover, maybe behind a mountain. It could acquire the target with its radar, shoot the missile, and fire and forget it. The Apache could then lower itself back down behind the mountain, and the missile is still going to go to the original radar ping. Whereas, like with laser energy, it needs constant laser energy to guide it. So something like the AH-1 Zulu, which can also carry AGM-114s, when it shoots it, it has to constantly keep its laser on it, not allowing for the fire and forget and terrain masking while the missile is still in flight. Then we have the MH-6 Little Bird, also known as the Killer Egg. So its role is Special Operation Forces insertion and extraction, close air support, and armed reconnaissance. So for ordnance, it can carry guns, rockets, and Hellfire missiles. Its sensor is the AN/ZSQ3 electro-optical and infrared sensor system. If it is mounted, it's not always mounted. For capabilities, it's incredibly maneuverable. This is because it's a very small aircraft. And the pilots are incredibly capable because they come from the United States Army's 160th SOAR, Special Operations Aviation Regiment. And for limitations, it has very limited ordnance and also incredibly limited air-to-air attack / defense capabilities. And for remarks, it's primarily only used for Special Operation Forces missions. In conclusion, every branch has some form of close air support capable aircraft. Every aircraft has its own capabilities and limitations specific to that airframe. It is important to understand these capabilities and limitations because failure to have this knowledge will result in far less effective close air support missions. And that is all for this video. Hope you learned something.
Enemy AC on bomb!